But then Uranus is going to move into Gemini, an air sign. And I think Uranus, I've got hopes for this. I think Uranus is going to be really comfortable in Gemini. I think it's going to revolutionise not only the way we think, but the way we move and communicate and interact. I particularly think it's going to rapidly accelerate the technological systems of innovation that we've given birth to in the last 20 years. It's pretty weird to think that there's no one alive now under the age of 30 who has not known the internet. I remember when I got my first email address in 1999, and I got my first website in 2001. It seems like the ancient past. I've had a website 22 years, which is pretty good. But it's a blip in time. But now we're going to see something much faster, much bigger. I suggest we're on the point of an amazing technological revolution. And I do suggest that with Uranus in Gemini, this is going to aid us to enhance our ability to accelerate our mental evolution. I think that one of the big things that's about to develop is going to be holographic interactions, where we're going to be able to actually engage with each other, not just on Zoom, but in person through holographic representation, which would be an amazing thing, although I'm sure the porn companies will have fun with that one. Right? Okay, but you know, whatever.
Steve, what can you say about Uranus trining Pluto?
Trining Pluto?
Uranus will be in
Yeah, that's 2 years' time. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. Uranus will trine Pluto just as it moves from Pluto, just as they both move from Earth into air. But they'll also be sextiling Neptune. I'll show you this chart in a minute. I'm deliberately building up to this.
Okay.
I think Uranus and Gemini is going to revolutionise our concepts of technology. It's going to drag us kicking and screaming into the 21st century at the technological level. It's going to open us up to much faster, much quicker ways of communicating and networking. And it's going to spread not only information, but knowledge at an exponential rate. And not just knowledge in terms of education in schools, but knowledge of the esoteric and the spiritual. I think Uranus in Gemini is going to finally herald the development of astrology into the mainstream. And wouldn't that be an amazing thing? People will finally take it seriously. The last professor of astrology was burnt at the stake in Bologna in 1600. In the last 20 years we've got astrology back into the universities, and now we're going to get it out into the mainstream, and people like us are going to be on the cutting edge of this. I'm really excited. Of course, Uranus in Gemini could be disastrous. It could lead to, for example, a major sunspot, which would take out all the satellites and crash the entire internet worldwide. That would knock us back 25 years. But then we'd repair it quite quickly. I find it difficult to find anything negative about Uranus and Gemini. Saturn is going to move into Aries in 2 years' time, 1.5 to 2 years' time, 1.5 to 2.5 years' time. That worries me, particularly the Saturn-Neptune conjunction of February 2026 at 0 degrees of Aries. That scares me. Saturn conjunct Neptune, the last time that happened was at the end of Capricorn in 1989, and that was the downfall of the Berlin Wall. Whenever there are Saturn-Neptune conjunctions, oppositions or squares, something happens in the communist world. It was the Bolshevik Revolution happened on a Saturn-Neptune opposition. Marx Engels wrote the Communist Manifesto on a Saturn-Neptune conjunction. The Berlin Wall was built on a Saturn-Neptune conjunction, and it came down on a Saturn-Neptune opposition. It came down on a conjunction, sorry, it was built on an opposition. And now there's going to be a Saturn-Neptune conjunction at the start of Aries. I'm not a fan of right-wing politics, I'm not a fan of left-wing politics, I'm not a fan of politicians. I'm an environmentalist at heart. But I do feel that we're going to see a big resurgence, a big reaction against the minority stakeholders as represented by corporates, banks, governments. Not all of them, but though the dictatorial ones. And I think the Saturn-Neptune conjunction could actually be quite short-term destructive. It's also going to potentially have a really serious effect on the environment. Saturn conjunct Neptune, it dissolves boundaries, dissolves structures, dissolves agreements, whilst at the same time, the other way of looking at it is that it brings structure into the imagination. So it could be the start of a golden age, it could also be the ruination of the earth. This time of February 2026 is pivotal. There's never been a time like it in history. There will never be another time like it again, ever. Not for thousands of years. So one way of looking at this is to say that this is the time where humanity is going to come of age. The experiments, the training is over. We either mature, grow, evolve and develop into a future of our making, or we don't, and the human experiment will come to an end quite rapidly. When I look at non-human interactions astrologically, I look at things, as I said yesterday when I talked about earthquakes and volcanoes, from a heliocentric perspective. And viewed from a heliocentric perspective, where there are no retrogrades, there is a specific date that jumps, and I want to show you the chart for it. Where the hell did I put it? Hang on. Yeah, that's the one. Now I've deliberately left out the Sun, Moon and Mercury because they're not big players in this particular chart. But this is the 11th of May 2026. Pluto at 3 degrees Aquarius, Neptune 2 Aries, Mars 5 Aries, Saturn 6 Aries, Uranus 1 Gemini, Jupiter 0 Leo, Venus 5 Leo. Everything is in the first 5 or 6 degrees of their respective signs. Bearing in mind that February 2026 is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, Uranus will move into Gemini in April 26. This lineup will occur in May 2026. This is the time. This is the moment that I've been waiting for my entire life. This is the moment where humanity will come of age and grow and evolve, or it won't. There will be increasingly stressful outrages, warfare, violence, economic downturns, restrictions, limitations before this time. Because vested interest groups, and I'm not being paranoid, vested interest groups have an interest in keeping the majority of people dumbed down so they can continue working in ways that keep making money and making profit. I don't have a problem with people making money. I do have a problem with the absurd profits that are being made by a very few people at the cost of the ruination of the earth. These days are coming to an end, one way or another. We're living at the biggest time of concentrated and compressed change that we've ever seen and there's ever been in the whole of human history. I think we owe it to our ancestors and our grandchildren to make the best of this and to move forward in a way that gives us hope for the future and starts a whole new way. We are moving into the age of Aquarius. This is it. And the future needs to be defined by a kind of empathy, compassion, a good relationship with nature, with feminism, with ego. All of these things are taking hold, and not a moment too soon, because if we don't do this, we're screwed. And astrology is the emerging lingua franca of the accelerating consciousness revolution. And we are on the cutting edge of this. I've dedicated my life to this moment, and I didn't know it was happening until I did the research for this. I knew we'd been building up to this moment, but I didn't know the dates precisely until I did research for this workshop. It's becoming clearer and clearer the closer we get that this is it. This is the time. Because the alternative doesn't bear thinking about. What type of world do we want for our grandchildren? I don't want my granddaughter to grow up in a polluted world, toxic breathing fumes, where they have to be genetically mutated or genetically evolved to deal with the emerging pollution. To me, the planet has a kind of life force. I don't see the planet as an inert object. It has life. It has a kind of consciousness. And the planet is reaching out to us. It's saying, change your ideas of communication. Change the ways you interact with each other. Change the ways you work with the planet. Look, I'm going to go completely off the ranch now. All right? If you think I've gone bad so far, this is where I really go for it. I've studied crop circles since 1989. I've been in hundreds of the damn things. I've seen the way they work. I know what happens in crop circles. I've seen what happens to the people in them. I've seen them made. I've seen crop circles happen from a distance. I know they're not alien. I know they're not ET. I've been on a hill overlooking a field at dawn. I've seen a cloud come in over the field. 5 minutes later it clears, and there's 30,000 square metres of wheat laid down in a perfect ensign, 330 yards long and 95